What's up, guys? Welcome to a new episode of the NeoVintage podcast. I am Jarrell, and I am with
Steve. How's everyone doing today?
We are just two guys that like to talk over the biggest stories in gaming, and so we'll start with our first segment. What games are we playing? So, start with you.
So I haven't been playing much.
Okay.
I kind of just really getting excited for all the stuff releasing soon. So I've been just kind of clearing my plate. I went back and trying to finish off Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Okay.
Just having a really great time with it. Now I got the dual lightsabers, and now it's like
So you're pretty deep into it.
Yeah, no, now it's real good. And I'm just trying to finish that up. Besides that, I've just been playing that and Doom. Well, 2016 Doom.
Getting ready for Eternal.
And prepare for the sequel because I really love that game. I don't think I finished it on PlayStation 4. I think I finished it maybe on PC. So I'm trying to just collect some trophies, clean it up a little bit, and really just getting excited for the sequel. That's all I've been playing.
Okay, so I've been kind of all over the place. So my main game I've been playing right now is Division 2. Again, I told you guys about the sale last week. Really, really enjoying that. I'm on level 8, I think I just turned this morning, which doesn't mean much to people who don't play Division. But no, I put a couple hours into it. I'm really, really enjoying it. It's brutal by yourself, though. I gotta say, like, when they built it for multiplayer, like, they meant it. Like, it's brutal by myself, but I'm managing fine enough. I know people who play it alone, so it's obviously possible. But the sooner I can get a team together, the better, because I'm struggling at this point. Then I've been playing a lot of Star Wars games, so kind of all over the place. So I've been playing, like, the Pod Racer game on N64. I also bought a copy of Force Unleashed on 360, and it's backwards compatible on Xbox One. I'm really enjoying that. Didn't realize how, like out of control that game is in terms of with the force powers. Like, I'm just like spamming the force power and it's like collapsing everything around me. I didn't remember it being that like hectic and chaotic. And then I've been playing Shadows of the Empire on N64, and we'll get more into that later because I have some thoughts about that. But that game is really something. So I've been playing a lot of retro games and play a little bit of normal stuff too.
All right. So we're gonna go right into our first story. It's been a light week.
Yeah.
We're in this weird dry spell, between announcements, and everyone's really just on the cusp of the new generation of games and the big games finally starting to release in March. But of course, GDC and PAX has now been affected by the coronavirus, as Sony and Square Enix and a few other companies have decided to pull their presence or greatly reduce their presence because of the worry of the coronavirus. I don't think anyone really expected the coronavirus.
I was wrong.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
I didn't
for
think
sure.
it was going to be a big deal. In my mind, I know people are always greatly affected, but bird flu, swine flu, all that stuff.
It's not the first time we've heard about this.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the first time we've went through this or suffered through this. So it's weird, but now it's like, condolences to people who actually lost their lives, are highly affected by this. But now it's really leaking to a different aspect where conferences, shows, all these kind of things are being affected, and people just are pulling out because they don't want to catch this, and it's a serious issue.
Yeah, I mean, I was completely wrong about this. I didn't think this would have like any impact whatsoever. Again, because we've heard about the epidemic, like a pandemic is coming, it's going to wipe off everything, and nothing really amounts to it. And I saw it having effect, so it's having me like rethink my feelings. Because I'm like, there's no way this affects the console launch. It's not going to do. If this is affecting conferences now and it's not really slowing, unless they roll out a vaccine, like, is it going to impact the next gen? I mean, I don't know. It's affecting the working class Chinese population the most, and that's where Tencent is, and that's where all the parts are coming from. So realistically, maybe I was wrong about that. Maybe it will. What do you think?
I think it's actually possible. I was the same as you, where I was like, it'll be fine. I'm like, people, unfortunately do pass from these things, but at some point the vaccine will get out and people will start getting control of this thing. But when they started holding up like cruise ships and people weren't getting off for days, and
different countries now.
Yeah, it's just to a different extreme. And now workplaces are being shut down and put on hiatus. So it's like, are these systems gonna be put together? Mainly, Sony, because I know Microsoft sometimes has workarounds and stuff like that, and who knows how far along in the production they are. Because I know like Phil Spencer said he has one at his house.
Yeah. So it's pretty late into the production.
So it may be pretty late, especially if he has like a final version. If anyone would, he would have that. I do kind of believe, like, if a rumor were to come out soon, it's like, of consoles officially delayed till late winter 2021, January, February, I'd believe it. I would 100% believe it, because you don't want your people being afraid to come to work and, later on dying, these are people's jobs and they don't want to miss work, but they also don't want to die. So I could see the consoles being pushed to 2021. I hope they don't, but again, that's just because I want my shiny new box. So.
Well, I mean, at least they have the benefit of having a launch window and not a hard date. So if there is a delay, it's kind of like a soft delay in the fact that we don't know how significant, because holiday can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people depending on what retailer you're talking. So if it gets pushed into 2021, it could be anything from like, a couple weeks. Because if they were going to have a theoretical like November launch, then they're only pushing it off 6 weeks if it goes into 2021, as opposed to if they had like a hard date and it's like we're launching on end of September, early October. Now they're pushing off months. So at least Sony gets the benefit from that, and Microsoft too.
Yeah, they both get. I think they both just say generically holiday 2020.
Yeah, nobody's put a hard date on it.
So I'm assuming, again, in my gut, I was thinking probably October, November. Who knows if they're maybe going even, like you said, late November to December to maybe January.
December's pushing it. That's really close to Christmas.
I think December is.
If they can't hit November, I wouldn't be surprised if they push it to January.
That's what I believe. It'd be so weird. It'd be like a Nintendo thing to do to release
the March release,
yeah,
March 17th or whatever.
To release that console in December, like 2 weeks before Christmas. It's cool for hype, but you still have to convince people to launch your system. So. Yeah,
you either beat out the holiday and then get those Christmas sales, or you completely give it up and move into the next year, because there's no way. No one's launching that close to Christmas. No, that's a death sentence. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, you'll burn.
No one has money at that point.
Absolutely burn.
All right, so you want to jump to the second story?
Yeah, I think that's all I have to say for that.
All right, so for the small contingent of people who know about this game, but it was making a lot of headlines recently, and it's the game Biomutant that I thought had been long canceled some time ago, just by nobody saying anything. So we got an update on the official Biomutant Twitter, and they announced that the game is still apparently happening, and it's not canceled. This is the statement. They said, "Let us assure you that we have never been working harder and more focused on it than now. This is the developer's experiment 101, and the publisher is THQ Nordic." So do with that what your info, what you want to do with that. THQ Nordic, they've been putting out a crap ton of stuff, so they're publishing pretty much everything at this point. The entirety of the second party game releases is THQ Nordic, and so this game is apparently happening. It was originally supposed to come out in 2018. Then it was bumped to 2019. We're in 2020 now. I wouldn't be surprised. It's like, we're working on a next gen version, so it's being pushed to 2021. So we'll see if we ever see this game. I don't know who cares about this, but I saw a lot of people talking about it.
So I like to be in the know. I watch all conferences. I'm on Twitter all the time from all these game developers. I've never heard of this game.
That tells you everything you need to know.
I looked at pictures. I vaguely remember that little raccoon cat thing with the eye patch. I have
the cover pretty much.
I guess. I have never heard anything about it. I couldn't tell you if this was a shooter, action, an MMO. I could not tell you anything because I had no idea.
I know nothing about it.
I know nothing of this game. THQ Nordic is publishing it. They also publish everything. They also think they can get away with everything. That's why they're releasing a $400 Destroy All Humans Collector's Edition, which is nuts.
Isn't the SpongeBob game coming out through them too?
I think they're doing they're doing the SpongeBob game, which also has like a crazy collector's edition. It's ridiculous.
I don't know who that's for.
I mean, now I'll start looking into this game a little bit. Maybe it's something for me, but again, I don't know. I just, nothing's been coming out. I never heard of it. People in my little circle have never heard of it. I think maybe this statement being on IGN right now when nothing was being published, that it's still coming. Maybe that's good for them because nobody.
Dead Island 2 is still coming though too. Like, what does that really mean? Still coming?
Yeah, that's true as well. I mean, maybe they'll just keep saying this game will keep coming, and then eventually just.
It's like like if a tree falls in the forest and no one's here to hear it, doesn't make a sound. Like, if this game gets pushed off and pushed off and pushed off, eventually it comes to the point with no fanfare. Did it ever release? Does it even matter? Is this really a thing? Who is Experiment 101?
Yeah.
THQ Nordic, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Who is this for?
Just sweep it under the rug. I mean, companies do it all the time. Rockstar did with that PS3 game.
Just pretend it never happened. Yeah.
They never cancel it. They don't talk about it and it goes away. Do that because I don't know what Biomutant is, and I honestly don't get it.
I wish the best for them.
It's a big year, so good for them, I guess, if it's a passion project, but it is what it is for them.
Them and the 40 people on Twitter that are excited for it, I hope you guys get your game.
Maybe it'll go to Kickstarter. Who knows?
Maybe.
For a final. All right, so this week we had an Animal Crossing Nintendo Direct. Not the Direct everybody wanted because people were waiting for that Q1 Nintendo Direct because it's been a while and they're been pretty silent, but tons of crazy good news for Animal Crossing fans. But once again, Nintendo shows their shortcomings with no way to natively copy your saves over. So Nintendo, remember we do pay $20 a year for the cloud save. That is only
very selective.
Very selective. So I thought in my brain that it was all first party games. I was dead wrong.
No.
It's not all first party games. Because I just recently found out with Fire Emblem Warriors cannot do it. I heard that at some point they were going to patch it. They never did, apparently. Mine cannot cloud save anyway. So when I had to play it again, I had to restart. Animal Crossing is a big game, though, to be able to lose your save. You're talking people who put hours and hours.
Hundreds of hours.
Wasn't there like that grandma last year who played like 300 something
thousands.
hours?
It's just insane, yeah.
And you're telling, I'd be devastated if I lost all that progress because I decided to get a new Switch later on. If they do announce a Switch Pro or even just a better Switch Lite you want, you're telling me, I know you can do that transfer to transfer, but if there's an error, there's no cloud save. And they had that weird tag on the bottom where it was like, you'll be able to do it one time, and then they took the video down, re-uploaded the direct, and changed it. Pretty much just saying later on we're gonna
have
something because why you didn't give me a limit on I can transfer my saves? It's Nintendo.
That paranoia again.
I just don't get it. Like, so the direct was so good, and then they're like, oh, if you lose your save, who knows? I don't know. Maybe you can get it back. You can't cloud save it with Nintendo. This is a first party game. This is not The Witcher. This is not, the Doom or any other third party game. This is your guys. This is you guys. The people who've had your hardware and available to your service. I can't cloud save.
I was trying my hardest watching this direct to try to get into their headspace. Why are they approaching it this way? And the only thing I could really come back to is their paranoia towards exploits in any kind of way. And I don't know if they've explicitly expressed this before, but I know they're not fond of the idea of the classic trick that people have been doing since the GameCube days, which is playing around with time and saves and different stuff to exploit and get different items when you're not supposed to get it and do weird things and speed processes along. But my issue with it is that this is not one of those like perpetually online Anthem type, Destiny type games. Like no one loses from this. Like, okay, let's say I do some weird exploitation thing on my save and start playing around and doing a whole bunch of breaking my game. Oh, okay. There's no Animal Crossing online. This is not pay to win. I'm not one of the Chinese hackers in Fortnite. Like, let me do what I want. So I don't get their very regressive tendencies towards like online infrastructure in general. I don't get it because Nintendo gets so much right in the places they need to get it. And then the small areas is always the online infrastructure. They're just so far behind on so many things. The friend code situation, the voice chat situation. Oh, we can't do voice chat on the Switch. The PSP had Skype on it. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's true.
I remember mics coming through on Phantasy Star Portable 2 on my PSP. On the PSP in like 2006. So that's a lie. They have this weird paranoia with like people messing with things the way they construct it combined with the family friendly thing, and they don't want people talking to each other. I don't know.
It just doesn't make sense in the aspect that
they're stuck in the 90s.
Yeah, they want you to have a family of Switches. They want you to have a Switch Lite. They want you to have a Switch dock. Well, there's no way to transfer your save, and it's a headache. There is a way to have like two accounts on one Switch, on one account on two Switches. It's super annoying, and downloads
a whole bunch of transfer and
But now you're telling me later down the road, I finally decide, what if I wanted the new Coral Switch Lite? Now you're telling me I may run into an issue. I may lose my 50, 60 hours I've put into Animal Crossing. Those beginning hours of Animal Crossing, those are a grind. Listen to all that nonsense that's a lot of time, to learn the game, to then have to do that tutorial all over because, forbid that your system breaks or just doesn't work, overheats, whatever it is.
And when you're talking a handheld, that likelihood is higher.
Exactly, especially if you have a launch one. It's been a couple years. My Switch sometimes acts a little funky. I have a launch one. To know that I may lose my progress not because of me, because of their hardware and their software doesn't work or they refuse to. To me, it's actually really unacceptable that I don't have cloud save on my Nintendo Switch.
It's just weird because, like, again, PlayStation, I back up my saves constantly and re-download it, and the second PS4 we have in the room, there's like it's no big deal. It's not an issue until you try to act like there is an issue. It was kind of like when Sony didn't want to enable crossplay because they were saying like, well, we have this environment that we're trying to play and we can't moderate on their side. Like Nintendo is not 10 times as family friendly as you. It's like an issue that doesn't exist and that they're trying to act like it's a thing and trying to almost speak it into existence to justify their bad business decisions. And the reality is I think just Nintendo execs are stuck in the 90s. In terms of everything, when everybody was going in one direction, they're like, oh, we don't need the online thing. And then they force their hands like, all right, fine, we'll do it. And again, like the launch Xbox, the original Xbox, had more solid online infrastructure than the Switch does in 2020.
It's ridiculous.
Like, that's crazy.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, people playing like all Rainbow Six and all those old games on original Xbox.
They still expect me to have an app to talk to my friends on.
Absolutely not. I don't know if I have that app downloaded right now.
Hell no. I had it for a weekend before. I was like, absolutely not.
It doesn't work. So that's why you use Discord and stuff. But it's just like you said, they're just stuck in the past. I'm able to right now hook up my Xbox 360, play a game that's backwards compatible on Xbox One. I can cloud save it, go to my Xbox One, a system that was released years later, bring it from the cloud and continue my same save. I did it with Star Wars The Force Unleashed because I actually played that a few months ago.
Works with Mass Effect?
It works in Mass Effect. It just works for a majority of games. Lollipop Chainsaw I just did it with to test it. I just don't think, why can't you just do it? Just do it. Stop. It's not a, I just don't even know what to say. I'm going on a rant here. It's just annoying. Why can't I just protect my save? Protect the time I put into your game.
Yeah, it's definitely just a priority thing. Their priority, which I gotta commend Nintendo. At least when they drop a game, it's a finished game. There's not all these a million different patches they have to do to make it work.
That's true.
Their bug testing is top tier, and I gotta give them credit. And so that's obviously always their priority, is just good experience from day one. But it's just they're so close. They're so close to being good that they do these small backwards decisions that I can't for even a moment understand why. We're talking a team. Just put a team on it to get the online infrastructure together. Like, I'm not asking them to make Mario Destiny, where you see 7,000 Marios running around in the same lobby. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm just, let me upload the saves, the thing you already offer, and just put it across all the games. That's all. Not this weird spoon-fed one thing at a time. Oh, you want NES games? Oh, here's 3. Oh, well, we have first-party ones we know you guys want to play, but no, here you go. Here, play Excite Bike again. I don't want to play Excite Bike again. I don't want to play
baseball and all these random things. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. And I know they're on it now because the internet went nuts. Twitter went nuts. They're gonna have a different solution. That's why they keep saying
to an extent. Though,
to an extent, they're gonna fix the issue because that's why they brought their direct down, quickly put it up with different wording to be like, oh, that's not what we meant, guys. So at some point, this little statement we just made won't be correct, and sure, Animal Crossing diehards will probably be like, well, you guys are wrong. Well, listen, that's what they said at the beginning. They fixed themselves. Good. I'm going to keep playing Animal Crossing. But let me tell you, if I ever lose my save,
I never touch it again.
I'm never going to touch it again.
There's no way. I'm not sending my Switch into them.
I'm not doing it.
So they can save one save to corrupt the rest of mine.
Absolutely not.
I don't trust them with it.
Absolutely not.
All right. So the next story is another apparent canceled EA Star Wars game. So according to Kotaku, EA canceled a third Star Wars game, codenamed Viking. Although details regarding Viking's plot and settings are secret, the report said it was planned to be a spin-off off of the Star Wars Battlefront with open world elements. So for anyone who played that game and are aware of the DICE engine that it runs on, there was a good groundwork there. So something that kind of builds upon that and focuses more on the story would have sounded really good. Again, this is not to be mistaken with like the Project Ragtag thing that was Amy Hennig's game that got canceled. That I think a lot of that did get repurposed into Fallen Order. That they haven't explicitly said that, but playing Fallen Order, I feel like the Uncharted influences are pretty obvious. So this is obviously something they used from that project. This is a whole different one. So the main topic kind of here is, what are your thoughts on this EA Disney deal that have been talked to death, but in the couple years, we're going to enter a reality where that deal will probably be up. I don't know if Disney's going to re-up on it. So looking back on what EA's managed to do with this kind of Star Wars game exclusivity thing, what are your thoughts on it?
The only shining star, there's only really 2 positives that came from this deal, which was Jedi Fallen Order. Even that had that was rushed out. They just recently talked about how they were forced to release it. No pun intended, but they were forced to release that game. That's why it was released with so many bugs. And the redemption arc of Star Wars Battlefront 2, not the original game, because that game launched, and it was, you guys remember the microtransaction uproar that EA dealt with. Besides that, everything about Star Wars Battlefront 1 was terrible. I mean, yes, the solid gameplay was good, and it looks
it's just
gorgeous.
empty, though. Just empty.
But I mean, that diorama mode.
Yeah, I remember that.
The diorama mode was
that.
boring. I was like, the only other game that had a worse diorama mode was like that Godzilla game that came out. And it had like.
Oh, that was a thing, wasn't it?
But actually, I think I like the Godzilla one better because Star Wars had like I just don't see. And it's funny because I think Disney came out a while ago and was like, "Oh, we're kind of proud of what we've done with the top." I don't think so. When you see the reception and the love that Insomniac Spider-Man got, like, people love that game. That game is universally loved. I mean, and then you look at what people did. When they think Star Wars and they think EA, they think first a bunch of canceled games, microtransactions, and half games. I mean, Star Wars Battlefront 1 did not have any sort of single player campaign. They had that weird survival wave thing, which is fine, and multiplayer. They didn't even have space battles. I know you could actually shoot ships and stuff, but there was no space battles in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's crazy. Not to mention Battlefront games existed before that point, so they had the template of what to do that people liked, and yet they decided to abandon all that.
They just gave it up. So it's, I don't know, when I think about this deal and hopefully ending at some point, especially now with the Skywalker saga ended and stuff like that, I think it's time to let EA do some of the games, but don't sign this exclusive deal. Give other people options, I guess. I'm not sure what other company I would want to work.
Devolver Digital.
Give it to them. Yeah, give it to them. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who I would want. In the dream world, I want Naughty Dog to make a Star Wars game. Because they'd be probably
imagine
super...
like an Any Create stuff.
But yeah, that's...
Like something like that.
But that's what I'm saying. So it's like, why can't we have a straight... Like, I know there's like no information about Project Viking or whatever, Star Wars Viking, whatever they were going to call it. Besides it being a spin-off of Star Wars, why couldn't it have been like 100% spaceship game? Like
a Rogue Squadron?
Because those were really loved.
Really good.
And there was that big thing that the last Rogue game fell apart because of different aspects. I think it's time to let EA do whatever they want, but I just don't think they should have that exclusivity. They're really botching the brand the Star Wars has so much potential as a game, and I'm glad Fallen Order shows that, and I hope they go more that route. But I mean, Fallen Order 2 is gonna have microtransactions
for sure. They're gonna monetize that one way or another.
Exactly.
The thing is, you got to kind of look at it like two ways. Critically, I think this deal was pretty obviously a disaster. Mm-hmm. I think Fallen Order was great despite EA's best efforts to mess it up. Not that they're making a conscious effort to, but they just have a magic innate ability to screw the weird things up. I think when I look back at this deal, it's been, I don't know when they signed it back, like 2013 or something like that. But I don't know when they signed the deal, but when I look back on it, all that goes in my head is just wasted time. All this empty space. And all these years, we got 3 games. 2 of them are a waste of time. I got both of them. But the reality is, critically, it was a disaster. But if you have to look at the financial realities, and I think they probably did get the returns. So when Disney's like, we're kind of happy with the deal, ultimately, on a financial aspect, I'm sure they are. But the problem is, with the state of the movies being received the way they are, mixed, being nice about it with, Solo and Last Jedi. And I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
I feel like in some ways they're just looking for good reception wherever they can get it. And luckily, Mandalorian well received, Clone Wars well received, and they're just hoping, I'm sure, just we want well received Star Wars games. And so Respawn being able to put out such a great game, that's great. I'm sure though, when it comes up for another EA game, Battlefront 3 is going to be a hard sell for Disney to, I'm pretty sure they'd be real hesitant and be like, no, you give us more of that. You give us more of that because we need positive reception wherever we can get it. Because, again, the movies are where they are. And Disney's not in the game of, like, we're going to remove ourselves from the gaming industry to go to the people who can do it best. And then it's worsely received than when they did it themselves. Exactly. That's just a waste of money at this point. If you're going to license it, you expect better returns because you're putting towards the people who do it best. And now that LucasArts is not in the development field directly, they should be going with people like, imagine this reality, a Naughty Dog jumping on it. Like, imagine that.
It'd be so good.
And you got people like, imagine like a Tom Happ doing like a Metroidvania style game like that, where you're like exploring the deep levels of Coruscant, and it's like a Metroidvania, and it's like 16-bit type graphics. Like, these are the kind of things I think of that could exist in some capacity if EA didn't have this like lockdown on the IP. And again, I don't mind if EA makes more Star Wars games in the future. It's the exclusivity that I have a problem with. Mm-hmm. And who thought that was a good idea? I don't know. I'm not an exec. I would have never for a million years okayed that if I was in power. I'm like, no, why would you want one team to make it or one publisher to make it? Let's lease this out to as many places as possible. Microsoft, what do you got? Sony, what you got? Nintendo, are you interested? I don't know, make Mario and Obi-Wan hang out. I don't care. It's diversity. That's what I would like. Diversity of teams, diversity of style and genre. That's ultimately what I think will make Star Wars great again.
I think they just have to go and I hate comparing them so much to Marvel, but they're owned by, it is what it is, who they're owned by. You have a core single player Spider-Man game on Sony. You gave it to Nintendo and they did Ultimate Marvel Alliance 3, which not my kind of game, the top-down,
but well received.
But well received for the people who want that. So why?
We'll see how Crystal Dynamics does. We'll see about that.
Well, yeah, that's a different story. I was gonna ignore that, but yeah, for people who want, a 10-year late game,
who knows? We could be surprised. We could be surprised.
I would love to be surprised.
Oh yeah. There's something there. I see the gameplay. There's also something profoundly off about it, but the combat's kind of interesting.
It just also looks dated.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, it's there for people who want that aspect. So you're telling me, you have these different Marvel experiences. Why would you not want to do that with Star Wars? The same way, like, all right, EA's going to take care of the heavy first-person shooter, even though they've been kind of botching Battlefield. The last couple of Battlefields have not been the best. Mm-mm. So, but anyway, you want to give a company that's known for shooters the shooter aspect. Why can't we have Nintendo do a small, whoever did the last Star Fox game? Well, not the last one, but that kind of aspect of a Star Wars game, and just again, and then have Respawn be doing their Jedi whatever.
Give it to id Software.
Give
it to them.
Yeah, give it to id. Give it to id. Do that.
After they're finished with Doom.
Well, yeah, why not spread it, have different options, so people who kids who want like a really easy game, there's Ultimate Alliance. People who want that heavy-duty competitive shooter, well, there's the Battlefront series. But when you pigeonhole and want them all, you gotta remember, EA's just, I know they make other games, but most their money comes from FIFA and all the sports games and
slightly more casual experiences.
Exactly, and those games make
Plants
money.
vs. Zombies.
Because of the microtransactions.
For sure.
Those games make money. If you look at any recent sports game, it is always just card packs, time savers. You want to create a third face, you got to pay this, you got to pay this. That's not what you want in a Star Wars game. Because Star Wars fans, as a huge Star Wars fan, you are as well.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Yeah, look, we don't want that. We want a solid, good game. Like, that's why Fallen Order was such a relief. Because Battlefront 2 had a story mode. It was lackluster, It was such a cool idea. Play as, someone on the Empire side. To, spoiler alert, I guess, immediately. I think you do one mission bad, and I think immediately she transfers over to, the Rebel Alliance, and it's just, you're pigeonholing them, and you're going to just keep getting less and less returns at some point.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like the music industry, that you can kind of play two different games. You can play the passion game, or you can play the money game. And there's economic realities no matter what. These indie teams, they have staff to pay. They need to make money ultimately. So there is kind of a monetization aspect no matter what type of game you're making. But I feel like just like music that are obvious music plays, the consumer can see through that a lot of times. And when you have a company like an EA or an Activision that their first and foremost main focus is making money and not making good games that can yield financial returns, people can see through that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's ultimately their biggest issue, is that Respawn wanted to make a good Star Wars game despite what their contemporaries were doing over at DICE. Mm-hmm. And they were able to do that. And EA's always been in the game where it's like, well, let's make the money first. What can we craft to be just a money sinkhole? but people see through that, and that has a lot of blowback as opposed to what I feel like Sony's been doing, where they kind of focus on let's make the best games possible, give them the time that's possible, and then we'll see the money on the background, you know, with software sales and stuff like that. So I think they need to get more in contact with what the consumer is really asking for, and there is an economic reality where they can make great games and make money off that as well. And not everybody succeeds at that. We've seen teams struggle with that reality where they make amazing arcade style games and there's just not the sales to translate it. But I think generally speaking, the people who are passionate about it, put towards the man hours, put towards the resources, see the returns that you'd like to hope that they deserve. So
yeah, it's again, we'll see where they go with this. I guess, you know, the proof's gonna be in the pudding when whatever the next Star Wars game is. Hopefully it's good, and then I do, you know, I don't want anyone to lose their job. I don't want them to put games out for free.
Oh no.
But if you're gonna heavily microtransaction, just look at Epic. Epic has Fortnite.
Oh yeah,
and I know that's you know, an asterisk there because it's really the only one that's doing it. Apex is kind of, which is them, is it not?
Apex is it's a Titanfall people, right?
Yeah, it's Respawn from that aspect. Yeah, so I don't know. Why wouldn't that have been a Star Wars game?
Yeah,
or Star Wars crossover event? Microtransaction, a free-to-play game, which I know sucks that you have to put a game for free, but people won't complain about microtransactions if the game's free.
Yeah,
Battle Pass, all that kind of stuff. So
who knows? We can ultimately be all wrong, and they'll sign another 10-year deal. Who knows? It could happen.
Probably more likely.
We've seen crazy.
It's all about what the bottom line looks like.
If they're seeing the money, why deviate from that? Honestly, critical reception only means so much when people don't speak with their wallets.
Yeah, Battlefront 2 was such critically, you know, hated for the microtransactions.
I bought it at launch.
I bought it
after the first one.
Yeah.
And we knew that was going to have its issues, and we bought it anyway. So I'm part of the problem. You're part of the problem.
So am I. But the thing is, that's what it is. I just want good ones. I don't care really who makes them. I want it good, and I just want people passionate about it. So why not then, you know? It is what it is with them.
All right, so now we're going to get into our first loose topic. We got 2 loose topics this week to kind of pad out the lack of long stories. So this is going to be an interesting one. Terrible games that we love. Now, I would like you to start this. I want to hear your first.
Okay, so terrible games we love. Shadow the Hedgehog. 2005.
Oh, boy.
Shadow the Hedgehog. No, don't get me wrong. I know he runs around with a gun.
A gun.
And all that stuff. The thing is, I always liked Shadow, even when I was young. I know I'm a huge Sonic fan. We've talked about this before. There's just something about that game I enjoy. Like, I got, like, the true ending, which is you have to do each path, like, twice to get the good ending. Like, the good ending and the good bad ending. The neutral good ending. All those endings. Like, so I played that game a lot. Because you go in there, do the branching stuff to get the final...
that lore.
You need to get the final story mode, which is when he finally turns super and stuff. Because I do get why people hate the game, because, you know, in some of the endings he kills Eggman. I'm trying to...
Kills him.
He kills Eggman. There's one he kills Sonic. And I get it, you know, it's rated T. I just like it. There's something about... I wish Shadow spun off to his own series. And it would probably... Surprisingly, probably be better than most Sonic games that release now. There's just something about that game. The soundtrack's super heavy, super dark. I don't know, maybe I was just...
The edginess.
I might have just been angsty when I played it, and it just...
Could be.
Always just
If that came out now, I don't know if it resonates the same way.
Probably not. Like, that's the same aspect you're thinking of giving Mario a gun, which Nintendo would never do, but Sega...
Mario Cross Rabbids, he has guns. It's not the same.
That's true.
He does have a gun.
That's true. There's like, but it's way more cartoony.
They're like blasters, yeah.
It's like blasters and stuff like that. This is like actual. You're getting space weapons shooting beams. There's a little bit of blood more than compared to other games. But I just think overall, it just worked because I didn't go in expecting. It's not Sonic the Hedgehog presents Shadow the Hedgehog.
That's his own thing.
Shadow the Hedgehog game, and I want a sequel. I don't care. I want a sequel. I want
Shadow 2.
Just Shadow Battle Royale, and just because that's the multiplayer in Shadow the Hedgehog, you just play as different colored shadows. Yeah, just give me a Shadow Battle Royale.
Just thinking,
I'll be the ninja for you guys for that.
Thinking back on it, it's like I almost can't believe that was a thing. Like it's almost it feels like a fever dream. That's like, did that actually happen? Where they gave the spin-off character from Sonic a gun and then he kills the main bad guy.
He's on the cover holding a gun.
And he swears, doesn't he too? Like they really tried to make it edgy.
He throws like a damn and a hell. He doesn't go around saying the F word. Or
just dropping F-bombs.
It's just, again, they wanted it to. I know that they were targeting those like cool bad boy style people. And let me tell you, they got me with it.
The ones with the tap out shirts.
Yeah,
those guys.
Tap out
the Ed Hardy shirts.
Ed Hardy. Listen, I just like that game a lot, and it is generally a bad game. I get it, but man, I just love it. I just don't know why. I don't know why. I'll play it all the time.
Well, funny that you mentioned Shadow the Hedgehog, because my first horrible game that I absolutely love is Sonic Adventure on Dreamcast, and then later ported to GameCube. Where do I get started? So this is honestly, front to back, the game that I probably beat the most times, which sounds nuts, and it's not necessarily a stat that I'm proud of. But I played this game on Dreamcast as a kid, then I got it on GameCube, and I beat it multiple times. And I beat it, I became such a fine-tuned machine because I didn't have a memory card. So I had to play it from the beginning every time I played it. So I muscle memory. I would just bang through it. And the only slowdown would happen through Big's level, but I don't want to Big the Cat. I don't want to get into that. Game is terrible. Like, beyond terrible. There's very little redeeming about it. The dialogue is unbelievably clunky. The gameplay is janky as hell. Fun is a weird way to phrase it, not to mention when Sonic Adventure 2 exists, and it's an improvement on pretty much every level. It's a terrible game, but it's a game that I have like such fond memories, going to like the Mystic Ruins and going to the ancient Mayan civilization of the ancient Echidnas. I don't necessarily understand how that happened. Who at Sega was like, yes, this is where we need Mario 64. Wait till they see this. That's what I feel like in some ways is what they were going for, but I love that game. Like, I really do.
So Sonic Adventure and the sequel have a special place in my heart because, like you said, at least once a year I play both. I go Sonic Adventure and I play Sonic Adventure 2.
And it's fun every time.
And the thing is, and don't get me wrong, as soon as I see Amy, is it Omega or Gamma, whichever one of the robots you play in that one, and Big, those three, I'm like, ugh. But I do it anyway.
Those chaos fights.
And the chaos fights, I trunk through it, and I know, like, just how bad it looks and how it plays. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I agree with you. Those games there's something about them that makes them timeless. That's why they keep, bringing them forward and forward with HD remasters or whatever.
Remember when they go on a date to the amusement park, Sonic and Amy? Like, these are legendary gaming moments.
There are.
To us,
there's just so many iconic things in there, and it's just like, it is what it is. That game exists, and there's a fan base. The Child Garden's unique.
Great song too.
People spend a lot of time.
We got to talk about the soundtrack. How about the soundtrack of Sonic Adventure?
For the Sonic Adventure series in general, that soundtrack is
Amy's theme, Knuckles' theme.
Perhaps it's nuts. All right, so next on my list, bad games we love. I specifically put Duke Nukem Forever, but the Duke Nukem games in general, that series. I'll talk more about the series. Those games are terrible.
Oof.
These games are absolute garbage. And I know, what they were back then, kind of copying Doom in an aspect, but trying to be like a single guy bro shooter. And recently I played Duke Nukem Forever again, and it's so bad.
That's like the one I've never played. I've just heard.
So it's the last one, and I don't even know what to say. It's hot garbage. But there's something when I play it that just feels like when you were younger and you played a game, whether it was good or bad, and you just did it. That's me the whole time I'm playing any Duke Nukem game. It's like, do I really want to drive this little race car over a bridge just so he can get like a beer and then you can pee all over the place? I don't want to do that, but I'll do it constantly. I don't know what it is. The voice acting, is just so cheesy. He's just this big muscly guy trying to be like the Babe Slayer. I always just think of him as a hardcore Johnny Bravo.
Yeah.
And so again, the franchise in general is just terrible. I know that Duke Nukem Forever specifically was in development hell for so long, went through like 3 cancellations, and still some reason came out.
They somehow got that out.
It's just ridiculous, and it's they have the weird. It's just everything about it. They have the weird Mary Kate and Ashley ladies in Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah.
And there's this awkwardness, and again they try to just make almost like a statement, like this is an old school game because like they get like raped by aliens and
crazy
impregnated by aliens, and the first thing is if they still look good for Duke, and it's like this game would no way survive a remaster,
let's say,
or even a sequel, which is why we I doubt we would ever get another Duke Nukem game.
I've always kind of put it in my head with Laser Shoot Larry in terms of
Yeah.
like remnants of an old era that like in more ways than one should stay in that era. I don't necessarily feel like they should bring it. They're gonna beyond get canceled. But yeah, I do have a fondness. The Duke Nukem again. I haven't played forever, but I played the older ones, and again, it's just like being transported back to the '90s. It's just nuts. There's nothing more '90s than Duke Nukem.
Yeah, no, it's just that's all I really have to say. They're all over in general, just a bad game, gameplay wise, graphically. You know, they don't hold up well, but for some reason, I do enjoy playing them. I guess more like you said, like a relic of the past, just for memory's sake of like. This was a thing you could do. You could make this kind of game. Not anymore.
I kind of hope they do it though. Get like THQ Nordic to bring it.
I think
they probably did it.
I think 2K still.
They own the rights to it.
I don't know. Maybe it was 2K. I don't know. Someone has that.
I don't feel like it would be hard to get those rights back.
Yeah.
I feel like I could get those rights.
Yeah, probably.
Be like, here's $15.
Probably no THQ Nordic owns them now.
I'm sure they do. I'll put money down that they do.
They buy everything. So
they own everything.
We'll find out.
So my next one is Star Wars Episode 1 Racer on N64. Now, some people are going to take umbrage with this. That game's terrible. Let's get it established. I have it on cart. I recently bought it. That game is clunky as hell. But the same nostalgia some people have for the movie is I would feel like it translates a lot to the game too. There are good things about it. Some of the gameplay has smooth parts, but one thing, the resolution. Oh my god, like, and it's just, it's a weird. It didn't hold up in the same way I thought it would in my head, but I still had like a lot of love for it growing up. I didn't even have an N64 growing up, so every time I play it like instantly brings me back to my friend's house I would go to because he had the N64, I had the PS1, and we'd like swap when we'd go to each other's houses and play it. And that was the one game I'd always play. He would put on GoldenEye. I'm like, yo, Episode 1 Racer, pop that on, that's what we're playing. And at the time I was like obsessed with the movie. Now in retrospect I like to act like I never liked that movie because it's not something I'm particularly proud with. But no, I loved Episode 1 growing up, and this game just, it's really something.
You know, I did own this game when I was younger. My brother had this N64, and I do remember playing it. I remember playing it a lot. But I did not recently play it, but last time I looked at footage of it.
Looks crazy.
It looks crazy. And the last time I ever actually tried playing, which we're going years back, like made me kind of sick. I don't know what it was. Just like
the blur effect on the side is
that
kind of
weird
crazy.
Blur effect. It just made me sick, and I'm like, this game makes me physically ill. But
imagine that in VR though.
No thanks.
Yo, where's Episode 1 Racer VR?
No thanks. Sony, don't do it.
Do it.
Don't do it.
EA, you own the rights. You do it.
So that's interesting. That's interesting. I didn't expect you to say that one because, like most people say, it's a good game.
No, it's not.
No.
A lot of those Star Wars games from that
most
era,
of those, yeah, you know.
You got the old Super Star Wars, and then you kind of jump to like
Mr. Lucas was wild.
KOTOR.
Yeah, he was signing on everything.
Yeah.
Just
Knights of Terrascasi. You remember that one?
No thanks. No thanks. That's interesting. That's a good pick though.
Yeah.
I respect it. My last game I chose was Square Enix, or they might have been Squaresoft at the time, The Bouncer.
Oh.
Big Boy Sora, as I like to call it, because if you looked at main character, it's Sora. You know.
Did this predate Kingdom Hearts?
I want to say it predated Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
And it's just such a bad. It's so everything works about the game except playing the game, which is the most important part of a game. You know, control wise, it's awkward. The combat is weird. It doesn't fit.
Cameras are weird.
The camera is weird. You have this weird. You know, you have choices. The one's like, oh, you want to play as this character, this character. They're all kind of cool and edgy, and you're, you know, a bouncer. You know, via the name. I just don't know why they never decided to kind of resurrect that franchise. I get why, especially nowadays, because you can't have like that adult Sora looking character. But at the same time, I guess you probably run into a little bit of Disney issue because Disney kind of owns Sora a little bit, or whatever the issue is.
They brought back World Ends With You, and that kind of looks like
Sora
too.
That's true. So I mean, again, I think it's rated T. I would like an edgier version. Like, just remake the game, but like full remake, and just make it a nice M game. Because these games exist, like the Yakuza games exist, and all these franchises exist that are super edgy and super.
I feel like Platinum
adult.
has a little bit of energy.
Platinum has a lot of that
for sure.
with Bayonetta, Vanquish, and all those other games. So Square needs to kind of. They were really relying on like specific things. Bring this back and just relaunch it as a whole franchise, because I think you're sitting on something.
Yeah, there's something about the graphic style too that like it's
like,
weird and off-putting, but at the same time, there's something about that early PS2 look that
it's just it
that
works.
shininess.
There's so much that works about it. I remember the opening cutscene and the vibes felt cool. You just felt like you were playing like as a young, when I was so much younger. I felt like I was playing like an adult game because it was so edgy. The guys are like, there's people smoking and like, yeah, this looks cool, and it plays like trash. I haven't played it in a while, but yeah, it plays bad. The combat's funky. I play a lot of fighters and a lot of brawlers, and that's really what all that needs to be kind of fine tuned. And then I think you're sitting on a good seller.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I played it was a couple years ago because I found it on PS2 and I bought it. I have to give them credit though. A lot of games at that time, there's zero impact when you're fighting people, and that's like the one thing is there is a weight to it that is kind of uncommon for that time. We didn't really see that until the PS3 generation in terms of like brawlers really having that kickback and those punches. So that's like one well-designed aspect of it. My compliments kind of end there, but no, I would love to see them bring them back. Yeah. Medieval's back. This is the time to bring it back. I don't know how it would sell. It probably just us, probably, but
yeah, sell 2 copies. I mean, who knows?
All right, and my last one is one that I hold really near and dear to my heart, and it's a Castlevania Adventure on Game Boy. Now, these are one of the slowest platformers you'll ever see in life. Going back to it is absolutely nuts because I have the Castlevania Collection on Switch, so I finally got to play like an up-resed version of it, but it plays exactly the same. Wow, like, this game is slow, but there's something about it that, one thing, the music's amazing in it, but, like, I can't believe how slow it is. That at one point, I'm like, yeah, everybody was like, yeah, no, this is okay. Castlevania on the go. But no, I love kind of everything Castlevania, except for Lords of Shadow. I don't like those games. But if it's a Castlevania platformer, like, you don't have to do much for me to like it. And so, like, I still really hold it near and dear. This is actually one of the few Game Boy games I also had growing up, which I wish for everything that I still had it. It's so expensive to get now.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the second one. I only had the first one. And the second one's way better than the first one. I wish I still kept this game because it's worth a lot. And just playing it on cart would be like a really dope experience to have too. Have you ever played this game?
No, not outside
I gotta show you this game.
Certain. Like, I've seen a little bit of it, and pretty much it's like, yeah, Castlevania on the go. Makes sense. Because everything was kind of getting ported back then. Mario, Donkey Kong, Country games all got ported. And
Zelda, with Link's Awakening.
Of course. So it makes sense to me, but when people talk about like the Castlevania franchise in general, their favorite Castlevania games, their favorite Metroidvania style, this game never comes up.
Oh, no. Never.
So it's interesting. I'm going to have to actually look into, you're going to have to show me off camera.
Maybe. Oh, yeah, I got the Castlevania Collection. I'll show you.
Yeah, because I have the Castlevania Collection, but I see it
Fire that up.
I see it, and I'm just like...
Fire it up.
And I'll go to Bloodlines or one of the original trilogy, so...
Great music, though. Yeah, that's like the one thing about it.
Yeah, so it is accessible to me. I have it, like, it's on my Switch. Will I? I mean, I'll probably play, now that you really mentioned it to me, maybe I'll go home and the first thing I'll do is just to test it out.
Put like 5 minutes into it.
Yeah.
I'm not, don't put much more than that.
I'm not good at
breaking your brain.
Yeah, I'm not super good at Castlevania games in general without like save states and stuff, so my time will be limited, but I can appreciate it.
For sure.
For just a little snippet.
All right, so on to our second loose topic, and this is basically our favorite franchises. Now, we both play a lot of games, so this is not the easiest to narrow down our favorite franchises, but how about you start this one and then we'll go from there.
All right, so as I've said maybe constantly on gameplays and the podcast, Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know what it is about the series that just speaks to me. I don't know if it's just like the nostalgia that I've always been playing this game, because when my brother got like the 64, I got all the hand-me-downs, so I got the Genesis and the SNES, and there's something about the Genesis just playing Sonic 1, 2, and 3 just blew my mind. And recently we watched the movie together, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which we both...
5-star cinema.
Yeah, we both feel differently about it. As it sits with me, I enjoy it a little bit more.
I was deeply unsettled by it.
But deeply. It pushed me to go replay the original Sonic games. I know the later the 3D, we'll focus more on
Sonic 3D Blast.
Sonic 3D Blast and Sonic and the Black Knight. We know all these amazing games. But I do really enjoy Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Sonic
Generations,
and Knuckles. Just also the lock-in mechanization was always so cool. There's something that's just about, it's not just like sped up Mario. I do just like the aspect. The music is, I think, superior to Mario games. And I know iconically, everyone remembers Mario a little bit more, but the level design, you had a good story without having like it block texted to you. Like, you understand you gotta get the emeralds and you gotta beat this fat guy. And number 2, you gotta do it again with a buddy. Number 3, he's got red guy helping him.
Red guy.
And I know their names, Tails, Knuckles. I know the lore of all their names. But in general, you didn't have to. I know back then you got to read the instruction booklet to get the story. Besides that, you really didn't have to. Knuckles comes immediately, crashes the waterfall, you fall, and you continue. So this guy's a bad guy for now. There's something about that franchise that also the fact that it just denies to die. Like Sonic 06. Let me tell you.
That should have been the death knell. But you would
that would have been the true death of Sonic. And yet they went and continued to make some good Sonic games, some okay Sonic games. That game just also, it's got to the point where just the lore in the world of Sonic is just hilarious now. Like, go follow Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Or go try to talk trash. Go talk trash to them.
Good luck.
Because they will just go nuts. Them and Wendy's get in a fight sometimes, and it's hilarious. But just again, that franchise in general just gives me a little bit of what I want. It's always good on the mobile because it's a fast-paced game. On home consoles, you got the original ones. Of course, we have, like we just discussed, the Sonic Adventure games, which aesthetically are just a weird thing to. It's like you just feel the vibe when you hear the music and you know the words, you know what you're doing, vibe for vibe, beat for beat. It's just great. So that's probably, again, like I've said before, the franchise I'm most fanboy of. Like, no matter what Sonic game comes out, day one I usually buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I also grew up with Sonic. I don't have the affinity you have for it, but I do have like the 2D preference, so like I can legitimately go back and play 1, 2, 3, Mania, Advance. Like, those are the ones that I tend to gravitate to. If I'm playing a 3D Sonic game, 9 times out of 10, it's for the meme. Like, I enjoy them from that regard. Yeah. Forces is a wild journey. They're still going at it. I'm surprised that they haven't put out like that Sonic game yet. I feel like they're still waiting on that. Like, since the originals, Mania's had there, but I feel like they're gonna get their Odyssey one day. Like, I feel like they're gonna have a modern 3D Sonic game that finally everybody's like, well, I think they finally did it. I still feel like they have yet to do like a successful, amazing 3D Sonic game. I still like they're still kind of feeling like fixing the kinks of it. And every time they get a little bit of progress, it's like, oh, colors, and then it's like Lost World that aesthetically looks good, but then it's like the Boom game happened. I'm like, every time they make like one step forward, they go like 2 steps back.
It is, and that's become a staple of, like you said, like they get so close. Like Sonic Unleashed got so close, but all that Werehog stuff.
Yeah.
For
Generations was it?
Generations was like spot on. It's just a little lack on levels.
Yeah.
And I know, time wise and when it was supposed to be an anniversary game. The fact that we haven't gotten Generations 2 or why Sonic Forces wasn't just Generations 2 blows my mind, because that's where you're sitting on money. People love Generations. The fact that they keep getting close, like you said, Sonic Colors, they got the platforming, the 3D right, but now here's the mimic with, the gimmick with the little aliens.
Or the least talked about one. Sonic 4. No one ever talks about Sonic 4.
Let me tell you, I bought Sonic 4 on PlayStation 3.
Yeah, that was.
I also own it on my iPhone. I actually just recently played them. The first one, episode 1, was
because it was divided into episodes.
They were gonna divide it into 3 episodes.
Only 2 came out.
It only ever made it to 2, and it's just they weren't made with love. The second episode is a whole lot better, but it doesn't do anything new. So that's where again they try. That's why I'm glad Sonic Mania came out, and it's like, listen, this is made by fans for fans.
Amazing game.
There we go, and it's an amazing game. Just like you're saying, I hope they really hit like a good Sonic game. When that happens, just no one's gonna talk about it.
Sadly.
The Game Grumps.
They're just a meme now.
They're gonna talk about it. Game Grumps really only like to play bad Sonic games for the most part to, trash all over it. But besides that, I can only hope we get a good Sonic game.
Yeah, I have.
Again,
I think they can. I think they got it in them.
Besides Mania, I love Mania. Support that team so much.
Mania's amazing. Okay, mine pretty simple. Anyone who knows me knows I love this franchise. It's Castlevania series.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, I'm a little biased towards the older ones. Specifically, Castlevania 3 is my favorite Castlevania games. I do like the Symphony of the Night era as well, going into the Game Boy Advanced and Nintendo DS ones. Other than that, and then Bloodlines I have a lot of love for. But I love this franchise. I don't know if there's a franchise that has more games in it that I like. In terms of just, there's a good 90% of the Castlevania games I like. And the only ones I really don't like are the 3D ones, the Lords of Shadow. I just cannot get into those at all. I don't like Castlevania on N64 as well. But other than that, all the side-scrolling ones, I'm pretty cool with. I don't really like the iOS one. I played the Japanese version. I don't like it's terrible. I don't like that one. But no, I have big love. This is something that I kind of adopted a little bit later into my life. I grew up on them. I liked them as a kid. Then I stopped playing them completely during kind of the midsection of my life. And then when I got back into retro gaming as I got older, I got into them. So it's been a back and forth thing. But what do you think about Castlevania?
So I love the series for what it is. I don't play them because I'm not good at them.
They're tough.
But music-wise, character-wise, story-wise, lore-wise, they are so good and do something just so timeless. The most ones I've spent most time with is Symphony of the Night and Rondo, just because it was on the Dracula X collection on PSP. That's where I was first really introduced to Castlevania. Then I went to play the original ones. I could barely figure out how to walk up the stairs.
They're brutal.
Now I understand how to do it, and it's not the worst thing. But that music's so iconic. Anytime, again, I bought the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, knowing I was going to play maybe 2 of them.
Got save states now, though, so it helps.
I do have save states, so it does help. But it's a dedication, because there's a lot of kind of just knowing, especially Castlevania 2. If you don't know to, kneel down on this ledge for a bird to pick you up. Different stuff like that took me off. But I love everything about it. And it inspired one of my favorite shows, which is the new Netflix animated series.
Season 3 coming up soon, real close.
Next week, can't wait.
March, right?
March, early March. So that's in general, I love it. I do actually differ also. I did play Lords of Shadow, the first one. Yeah. And I enjoyed it for what it was. Then I skipped the middle 3DS one, which
there was a 3DS.
Yeah. It was kind of sucky. And then number 2 was just terrible. It was futuristic. You were fighting robots and you lost that lore.
Yeah, I admit my bias with that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's a fine game. It's just, I'm so set in my ways with it. I'm kind of the same way with Final Fantasy that I'm I don't want anything different. You can move the camera, unacceptable.
Yeah, pretty much. Alright, so next one on my list, we just did a video I did a video. So the Street Fighter series. I'm a huge fighting game fan. I'm in that little culture, whatever you want to call it, ecosystem. Now, I'm not great at every fighting game, but almost every fighting game comes out, and you know this from seeing my collection. I usually have day one.
Every one.
From Dead or Alive, Street Fighter, Tekken, Smash Brothers,
Samurai
Showdown. I get these fighting games because I do enjoy everything about them. But Street Fighter is the one, without a doubt, I always buy. I always get any upgraded editions, the final edition, arcade, super remix, turbo.
Gold.
Don't care. I don't care about them. I don't care that they keep re-releasing, because there's usually just an upgrade pass anyway.
Maybe 1 or 2 new characters.
Yeah, 1 or 2 new characters, but it's I want the newest version, because I just like everything about it. I remember growing up, again, when I was, given the hand-me-downs of the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, I had Street Fighter actually for both. Obviously, you play the SNES version, which is superior.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So, but I remember spending hours and hours in there, from the iconic break the cars to breaking the barrels to finding the secret way to get Akuma, who is my favorite Street Fighter character. And when you actually got to, luckily when the internet came around and the true story of Street Fighter, who Ryu is and his connection to Ken, his connection to Akuma, and all the way the characters really interact with each other, it just spoke to me. And actually, coincidentally, wearing the Street Fighter shirt. Didn't know we were going to do this. But anyway, there you go. See, that's how much I love it. Yeah. The shirt was $4, and I was have to have it.
Perfect.
So that's just a franchise. No matter what, Street Fighter, anything Street Fighter, I'm down to buy.
Yeah, and I got to commend them. I don't know if a fighting franchise that's been able to reinvent itself so many times with the time and still maintain that level of quality. The closest one I could say, maybe Mortal Kombat, they've managed to dabble in that too. But again, how many times has Street Fighter completely revamped the way it plays from 1 to 2 to the Alpha series to 4 to 5? They've changed so many times, and they've upheld this level of quality despite the artwork change and the character roster change. They have like this heart and soul to it, and this level of like the way the metagame is designed that you got to give them like their credit. And yeah, I've loved pretty much every single one that's come out. As even though I'm always kind of, unlike you, I don't go day one. I'm always a late adopter because I know I'm like, I'll get the complete version with the entire cast for $20 when that comes out. And so that's what I did with 5 when I got the arcade version. I had like everything in it. So
now you get Champion Edition.
I can't keep doing this.
It's like $25 to upgrade.
And then that's why I got like the Ultra version of 4 with everything in it. Yeah. Eventually, we're gonna get the Ultra 5 or something, whatever it's called.
I think Champion Edition is.
You think that's it? The last one?
Because even if you didn't have arcade, Champion gives you everything.
How many versions of 2 were there? That's what I wonder about. Like, how many?
That could be its own video because there's legal versions. I actually have a.
Oh yeah, there's like the fake.
A bootleg. I have Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Rainbow Edition.
I forgot.
Which
Rainbow
is a thing. It is what it is.
Is it on cart?
Yeah, I have it on a cart. It was like a Mexican. I got it at a flea market, not knowing what it was. I usually wouldn't support that kind of stuff. I just saw Street Fighter. That's cool, and I bought it. It is what it is.
Okay, so my second one is a franchise that I've been playing pretty much since I was a kid on PS1. It's the Persona franchise. Now, I was one of those few people. I did play Persona 1 and 2. I then eventually replayed them on PSP when they brought all of them back there. And I remember playing Persona as a kid on PS1. There's no way I understood what was happening. There's no way that, because I was really young playing those. For some reason, I was like the one JRPG guy in the house. And then I just played as they evolved. And 3 was the one that really changed it for me. 3 with just the edginess with the shooting yourself in the head.
So good.
Having it portably, and then 4 on Vita just cemented it in my head. Like, they're onto something. And then with each iteration, they just get better and better and better. And even though I'm not like a Persona Q guy, like I think they've got that whole Etrian Odyssey integration thing. That's a great game in its own regard too. So I just like love every single game about it. I love the increase in the focus on social links, even though the old ones don't really have that. I love the cast. I'm excited to jump into R whenever I get that. Is that out yet?
March.
Okay, so I don't know if I'm getting that day one. I don't know. I feel like I want to space it out a little bit because I played one not super long ago. I rebooted it up and I put in a couple more hours into it. At this point, I'm probably like 90 something hours in or something like that. I want to give it a little bit more time because I'm so fresh off of the original 5 before I jump into the newest one. But yeah, I love every single game, and I would love like some kind of remake or refresh of 3 and 4 brought onto modern consoles. But what do you think about Persona? So
this is where I got to give you credit because you're the one who was like, yo, play Persona.
Oh yeah.
And so me and RPGs in general, it's hard for me to. When an RPG clicks to me, it just works. The classic Final Fantasies, usually 6 through 9, is my sweet spot. Excluding a few, like 8's not really my thing.
Yeah, me neither.
And other RPGs, it's always in random. Like Golden Sun kind of hooked me.
So it's kind of hit or miss.
Dragon Quest kind of hooked me. And the first time you told me when I got a Vita, everyone was talking about get Persona 4 Golden. Didn't really know about Persona. I knew a little about Shin Megami Tensei. I knew a little bit of that world and where Persona lands under that umbrella. And I could not stand Persona 4. I played for like 10 hours and I was like, boring. I've only done one fight. I can't stand this. And I put it away for a long time. And then you were really pushing me because I went and spent time playing Danganronpa.
Yeah.
And you're like, if you can play Danganronpa.
If you get through that, then.
So I said, in a different mindset, I restarted 4 and I fell in love with it. As you've beaten the game pretty quickly, I think. I think you've capped
4?
it.
Oh yeah, 4 I got through really, really quick.
So my first time playing 4, I spent 72 hours playing 4. And I didn't even max. I just was taking my time. The characters were there. The story, even though I figured out pretty quickly, just was solid, kept making me go. All the characters were just fun to interact with. So then from there, I spawned backwards. I went to 3, which was available on Vita.
Yep, backwards.
Because backwards was apparently a thing Sony wanted to do.
If only.
If only. And I just immediately wanted a remake because it was so cool, so dark. When they first time they start shooting themselves in the head to summon the persona was just amazing. Then I went for culture's sake, I played the first 2, and they're fine.
Yeah, they're very different games.
Yeah, they're very different. You can see where these.
There's like they're very Shin Megami Tensei, more so than what Persona eventually became.
Exactly, and then of course when 5 came out, I bought it day one. And I don't even think I beat it. I was somewhere in like the 60-hour range.
It's a long game.
It's just a big game. And then at some point I stopped when they announced Persona 5 Royal because I was like, I'll get to it then. And that's going to be fun whenever I get a chance to get to it. I wish they would put it on Switch.
Oh, that would be ideal. I'd get that day one if I could play it in bed.
If I could just
that would just help with the time.
on
the
the
length
go,
of it,
lunch breaks, all these kind of. That's where I want to play Persona, because that's where I played Persona 4 the most. Traveling,
there I could dedicate
lunch,
another 70 hours.
Then I can redo it and I know they have that campaign going on to, Atlas is like, keep pushing for it because we know you want 3, 4, 5 on Switch.
Oh, I'd love that.
Well, hurry up.
I'd replay every single one.
Hurry up and do it, because you're sitting on people will just print money for you.
Day one, I'd buy every single one.
So, in general, I know I went on a small rant, but in general, I love the Persona franchise, not because of you, because you kept pushing it to me. And
I'm glad I can get someone into it.
Yeah, there was something just there that sparked. And 5, I loved 5, obviously. And the spin-off, the dancing games.
Oh, I
Platinum Persona 4 Dancing All Night on Vita, where it belongs.
Yes. So, ideal console.
There you go. So the last one I mentioned, again, it was hard to kind of, on my list I have like 7 franchises, but I wanted to choose something a little bit different. Was the Halo series. So this is a series that's been going on for a long time. As you guys remember, I don't think I've ever discussed it, but I know we've talked off cam about it, that for one Christmas, me and my 2 brothers, we all got the systems. One got GameCube, one got PlayStation, and I got the Xbox. And I was pushing for GameCube because I knew Smash Brothers was going to be a thing, and I was pushing for it.
Understandable.
And PS2 was cool, but I didn't care for like JRPG or I don't know, Spyro, Enter the Dragon.
I was Metal Gear at the time.
I didn't care. But man, when I launched Halo and just saw what it was, like this space marine guy trying to save the place from aliens, and then you take it to a level where you care about the characters, care about Cortana, and what this Halo series just really influenced. Like every shooter that came out after, Halo killer, we want to be the Halo killer. And you really didn't get a Halo killer until Microsoft themselves did Gears.
Yeah.
And even again, they exist, together now. And it's just a series that stuck by. It's just a solid first-person shooter. I know they've kind of lost their way because you've lost, it was Bungie. Obviously, I'm a huge Bungie fan.
Now the 343, right?
Now, you have 343, who took it in a different aspect, and they kind of really ruined it with 5. And we're really hoping Infinite kind of
hopefully
brings it back. And I know you recently played... You're playing through the series.
Yeah. I've gotten into 3 now, and this is my first time ever running through. I did not have an Xbox growing up, and I had no exposure to an Xbox. So I'm with my Xbox One. I'm experiencing basically like a decade worth of the catching up. I'm playing Gears for the first time, playing Halo. Really phenomenal stuff, though. They hold up amazing, like for how old they are, and you can see that. Like, without Halo, Call of Duty is not a thing. Like all these shooters that have come from the modern era, like. I see like how it's affected like games like a Borderlands. Like all of these games take from what Halo's built, and playing through like Halo 1, it took me a little bit of time. Like the first few missions of Halo 1, I'm like, I don't know about this. It seems kind of dated. But then when you really see like that kind of multiplayer aspect of it, the LAN party, like all these things that it influenced, like I finally understood. I'm like, oh, so this is why people were buying Xboxes all these years. When I had the PlayStation console, I'm like, what are you guys buying these consoles for? There's nothing on them but Halo and Gears. Who cares about Halo Gears? And now replaying them, I'm like, oh. So they are a little bit deeper than the bro shooter. Like they're these really amazingly well-crafted first-person shooters that I don't think many first-person shooters can really outdo them on. And I would love to see Infinite kind of set them back on course, because I think there is a place for Halo in the modern landscape, and I think with a new generation they can really get their footing again and compete in a real way, especially if they take from games that they inspired, like Titanfall in a new way, in many ways, kind of took what Halo built and like expanded it. If Halo can kind of take some back and kind of reinvent themselves again, I feel like Halo can have its place, especially on this new console. Microsoft's trying to regain their footing, and if they come out strong, man, I feel like this can not only fix the Halo franchise for where it got, but like fix Microsoft kind of.
Yeah, because they lost their way for so long. Like Halo 5 is really like Halo 4 was warm received. Halo 5 was like really bad for like the microtransactions ruin it. The loot box system,
the story system.
The story was really weird because it's funny because they had like good marketing with it was like Locke versus Chief,
hunting them down.
You don't hunt each other down. Spoilers alert! But that game's old. It's on Game Pass. Go play it. You don't hunt each other down. There is no epic fight. There are some cool scenes together, but you just kind of miss the point of it. You're not doing anything the whole time. The multiplayer, they went super Call of Duty. They pulled the wrong things away from these other popular shooters. They pulled the loot box, they pulled the microtransactions. Stupid things like aiming down sights is not a staple of the Halo series, and you can do that.
You're kind of hip shotting all the time.
Sprinting is a thing in Halo 5, and I don't remember if Halo 4 had it. I think Halo 4 had it in the single player. I don't remember if they brought it to the multiplayer, but there's still a community even now. And then you have the redemption story of the Master Chief Collection. When you get that big package, this is not even including the spin-offs. Halo Wars, you have the real-time strategy series.
Yeah, you're still adding to it too.
You have Halo Reach, which is one of my favorites, if not my favorite Halo game. Which again, that was the last one I believe Bungie created, so it was really their love letter to the series to really wrap it up. It's just a series that, like you said, needs to bring it back to show why it's such a big title, why it was the Xbox seller, it's why everyone bought that 360 so quick. So in 2008, when Halo 3 came out, that was a massive thing. Like, there was nobody in my school. Everybody took that day off, or was sick, to go play Halo 3, especially over live.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, Halo is what made Xbox, and I feel like Halo can ultimately be what saves Xbox in many ways. As long as they got their ducks in a row for this new one, I feel like this is kind of make or break for Halo at this point.
I really think
Infinite, so. If Infinite doesn't hit the way it needs to do, like, I feel like that's kind of the point where, like, Xbox needs to start putting their cards elsewhere in terms of really trying to push. But if they can kill it, that can change the entire trajectory for the Series X at that point.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
So my last one is a game, another one that I kind of grew up on that has since gone really off the rails, but I still kind of love it, and it's Saints Row. Now, for y'all who don't know, it kind of started during the 360 era, and in many ways, it was kind of Volition's answer to San Andreas. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of like this gang-based shooting, third-person action game with high customizable, but it kind of had a quirky edge, and that was what differentiated it from GTA at the time. And 2 got even funnier and more over the top, and you were fighting luchadors and stuff like that, but it still had that kind of grounded street aesthetic. 3 was what it took it to a different direction, where it's like, okay, forget the gang stuff. How about if you were kind of like a mob boss? Yeah. And that was great. That is, in my opinion, is kind of like the height of it. Some people think 2 is. I like 3 the best. The customization got even crazier. You're hitting people with all different types of things that are very explicit that I won't get into, but you're doing all kind of crazy stuff. And then 4 is when things, I think, went too far, and you became president of the United States and you were fighting aliens. Yeah. And then next thing you know, the DLC, you're in hell. And then next thing you know, you're a future soldier in, what was that? Agents of Mayhem? Yeah, which is kind of like a spiritual successor / spin-off / whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I have a lot of love for the franchise. I think they've gotten way off base. More so than even Halo. You want to talk Halo getting off base, yeah. Saints Row is completely... And I feel like a lot of the cultural cachet they had at one point where, like, people were really talking about Saints Row being like, yo, this is a really hilarious thing. And a lot of people think that it's like some kind of GTA clone, some GTA ripoff where it kind of became its own thing. Mm-hmm. I feel like there is a chance with GTA 5 being as big as it is, and specifically GTA Online being as big as it is, I feel like Saints Row can have a place in the industry. They just need to get it together. And I feel like upping the ante can eventually work against yourself. How much bigger can you get than President of the United States fighting aliens? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of scared to ask. Saints Row 5 is in development, so we'll see. But do you have any love for Saints Row?
So yeah, I really do like the series. Again, my entry to the series was Saints Row 3.
Okay.
So, which I remember playing that was super just... Because I was never a big GTA fan because of the groundedness, but... Then you start Saints Row 3, and you're in a helicopter with the Johnny Gats mascot head. You have Kanye West playing in... I want to say Kanye West is...
Yeah, and you jump out,
Yeah, so you have this song, Power. You have Power playing in the background. I was like, this is amazing. You're, like, stealing a safe, and it's like... It's so nuts. And I was like, this is perfect, because it is an open world, similar to GTA, but, like you're saying, that quirkiness, the story, the hilarious just nonsense that goes on is what really captivated me. It just felt like an old school like comedy movie. Then I did go back and play 1 and 2 just to get familiar. I really like 2, but every time I'm playing it, I'm just like, oh yeah, this feels like a GTA clone. Yeah. Then 4, I really did not enjoy that much.
The powers was
because 3 had such a good like car customization, but then you had the superpower, you were faster than cars. So why would I even waste my time in a car? And all the abilities was what's nuts. I wish that was more like a small expansion. Get Out of Hell, I just didn't I just didn't get it. We were just scat trying to beat.
They lost me that.
Yeah, they lost me that one time. My only experience was that one time when we went to that convention. And we were when we hooked it up to the TV. That's my only experience with Gat Out of Hell because it was free on PS Plus one day, and I have no intent on playing it again. I know. So they put 3 on Switch.
Yes.
4 is coming to Switch,
and that's gonna have that packaged in.
Which is gonna be packaged in, and then again they did say the next Saints Row game is in there, in the works. So I hope they just dial it back a little bit. The U.S. president thing was such an amazing next step, and then you added the weird cyber world versus aliens. I was like, oh.
I just remember August of 2013. Yeah, it had to be 2013, and the day it came out, I had it pre-ordered, and this is Saints Row 4. This is Saints Row 4 at this point, and this is a couple months. Or actually a month, because I think GTA 5 came out in September.
Yeah.
So this was like the thing that like everybody was excited about GTA 5. I'm like, you guys can have that. I'll get to that. But no, this is Saints Row 4 day. And I remember walking from my house all the way down that road. No sidewalks. Yeah. You know where I'm talking about. To that GameStop in the dead of summer just to get this game. And then I'm like running home and I'm playing it. And I remember just my smile dissipating like, oh my God, what did they do? But like there's something about it where it's like, every game has redeeming things, and also every game has things wrong with it. So it's like the first one has that kind of like street gang warfare thing. I think a lot of the good things about Saints Row 1 are good things that San Andreas had going for it. The second one, the humor, I think is some of the best written humor out of the entire franchise. 3 has the best gameplay. 4 has the benefit of like diversity, so it changes the gameplay style. There's like a section where they're like making fun of like Metal Gear Solid, and you're kind of doing like a stealth thing. I don't know if you remember that at the beginning. Yeah. So it's like there's like an ambition to 4 that I respect. They had like some Mass Effect stuff that they were making fun of. So they're like I like the kind of balls they had in 4. It's just I don't think the execution was necessarily great. Yeah. So I'm curious to see what they do with Saints Row 5. I feel like sometimes when I read between the lines, I feel like they're going to try to dial things down a little bit because I don't think 4 worked the way they were hoping it would. So we'll see ultimately what becomes of it. I have a lot of love for Saints Row. I have a lot of love for Volition, and it's a franchise that I go back to pretty often. I replayed 3 front to back about a month and a half ago, not too long ago, before we started the channel. And it held up amazingly. Soundtrack's amazing. Cleaned up well. I played it backwards compatible on Xbox. I don't know how it plays on Switch. I don't have any wish to play them on Switch.
I heard not good. That's all I know.
I'm okay on that one. Y'all have fun with that. But yeah, I got a lot of love for Saints Row.
Yeah, no, that's I keep it's funny that like they know what to do right sometimes. Because my favorite parts of Saints Row 4 was when we were playing the flashback scenes to Saints Row 1 and 2.
Yes.
Don't forget
going back to Stillwater, right?
Stillwater, and you gotta do the beat up thing. Those
I forgot about those.
Yeah, everyone forgets about the love letters. They knew
that was really cool.
They knew what people liked. So I think they kind of hopefully have a handle on it, knowing like, well, listen, we went too far. Now let's give people what we love, which again is a sweet spot between 2 and 3. A marriage of that is where we really need the Saints Row series, hopefully, to be. And
also, what gives me hope is that, and for the few people who pay attention to Saints Row lore, in many ways, Get Out of Hell and the ending of 4 retcon a lot of the very finite choices they made in 4. No spoilers, they destroy the Earth and wipe out all of humanity.
Yeah.
They retcon that and they found a way to walk it back, which gives them 100% ability to go back to pretty much any point chronologically they want in the series. So I feel like they wouldn't have set that up if they didn't fully intend on kind of dialing things
resetting.
Back. So that gives me hope. I like to tell myself that maybe they'll figure something out. And again, THQ Nordic would be the one publishing it. THQ owns the right to that. I think Volition. I don't know if Volition, how that works ownership wise, but I know they'd be working on it. And so THQ Nordic seems to be giving anybody a paycheck that wants it.
That's true.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Saints Row 5, 6, and 7, to be honest. So, and I'm going to buy every single one. It's like one of my few series that's like, if Far Cry drops on, I'm buying it. Fallout drops on, I'm buying it. And if Saints Row drops on, I'm there too. So that was our podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been
2 loose topics this time.
2 loose topics, because not much news. We're hoping
next week.
Hopefully next week get some news, or at least we have some big games coming up.
This next gen thing, I gotta get cranking soon. I hope so.
Yeah, coronavirus is public enemy number one now because
Pretty much.
you're delaying everything now.
And hey, if Sony doesn't say anything, I have faith in Microsoft. They'll say something.
Oh yeah,
They talk a lot.
They'll Spencer with the tweets.
All right, this was the NeoVintage podcast. This was Jabrell. I'm with
Steve, as always.
And I hope you guys join us till next time. Bye.